Very good morning, students. So today we are starting with our next animal, which is the Plasmodium vivax. So the phylum of Plasmodium, it is again the protozoa. As we have previously discussed amoeba and paramecium from the same phylum. The class of Plasmodium is Telosporia. The order is Eucocidia and the genus is Plasmodium and the species is vivax. So this particular parasite causes malaria to humans, so that's why it is commonly known as the malarial parasite. And the mosquito, you must have heard of Anopheles mosquito. So this is the vector for the Plasmodium vivax. So this particular malarial parasite is found in the Anopheles mosquito. There are various species of Plasmodium. First is the Plasmodium vivax, the Plasmodium ovale, Plasmodium malariae, and Plasmodium falciparum. Out of these four species, the Plasmodium vivax is the most common species which is affecting the humans for malaria. It is the causative agent or the organism for malaria in humans. You all know that malaria is characterized by 48 hours chill cycles. Now, before starting the life cycle of Plasmodium, we should discuss the hosts of the Plasmodium vivax. So, first of all, the first host of Plasmodium is the man itself. So, the asexual life cycle of Plasmodium, it occurs in man. The whole life cycle of the Plasmodium vivax can be divided into two parts. Number one, it is the asexual cycle. Number two, it is the sexual cycle. So what we are talking about is the asexual part of the life cycle. It is present in the humans. So number two host is the mosquito. The sexual part of the life cycle, it occurs in the mosquitoes. So the life cycle can be divided into two parts, asexual and sexual. Asexual life cycle occurs in humans, whereas sexual life cycle occurs in the mosquitoes. Now, first of all, we are taking the asexual life cycle, and this life cycle, it occurs in man. Now, this part of the life cycle can be divided into two phases. The first phase, it occurs in the liver of man, whereas the second phase, it occurs in the red blood cells of the man. So you should be clear over here that the life cycle was divided into two parts, asexual and sexual. The asexual part, it was in man, and sexual was in mosquito. Now the asexual part in man is further divided into two parts. First is in the liver, second is in the RBCs. This diagram shows the very first part of the asexual life cycle that is in humans. So this is infection. So what happens that an Anopheles mosquito, this is a female Anopheles mosquito. So you should know that only the female mosquitoes, they suck blood of the humans. So this is a female Anopheles which is coming to a human and it is biting that particular human for blood. So what happens that during the exchange of the blood, the mosquito, it releases the infectious organisms which are called as sporozoites in the humans. So here you can see the sporozoites are being released in the humans. So these are in the blood. Now this particular human is infected with sporozoites. Now these sporozoites are in the blood of this particular human. Now As we have earlier discussed that the asexual life cycle of the Plasmodium is divided into two parts in humans. First, it is in the liver and second is in the RBCs. Now these sporozoites, they go to the liver of the humans. Now here you can see the sporozoites are entering into the liver of the human. This particular slide shows a number of sporozoites in the blood. Now this is a particular sporozoite which has entered the bloodstream of the human. So these sporozoites, they enter the liver cells. Now liver cells are also called as hepatocytes. This is another diagram which is showing the entry of the sporozoites, first of all in a human, then to the liver. This diagram shows the structure of a single sporozoite. So it is a spindle-shaped organism. It is having a nucleus in the center. It has a large number of mitochondria. And the special thing is that it has got a paired organelles. These are also called as apical gland. And this is the apical cap. Now what happens when it reaches the liver or a hepatocyte, it secretes a lytic juice from its paired organelles. So that particular juice, it lyses or it breaks the hepatocytes or the liver cells, and this sporozoite then enters into the liver cells. Now here you can see the entry of sporozoites into a single hepatocyte. Now the phase in the liver starts, and this is called as liver schizogony. So schizogony literally means the division of the organisms. So this is the division of sporozoites or plasmodium in the liver. The first phase, which is called as the pre-erythrocytic cycle. So it starts when a sporozoite enters a fresh liver cell. So what happens? The sporozoites, they are transformed into the first phase, which is called as a trophozoite. This trophozoite is converted into a schizont with a number of nuclei. Now here you can see large number of nuclei, and this schizont, it forms cryptozoites in the liver cells, and these cryptozoites then are liberated and they enter fresh liver cells. They enter new liver cells. So what is happening, that this particular cell in which the sporozoites have entered, it is bursting now. So the cell is broken. So that particular human will have now the broken liver cells. So that will severely affect the health of that particular human. Now from here, the cryptozoites, they enter a fresh liver cell, then they will become trophozoite, then again schizont, then it will again make cryptozoites. Then after this, a large number of metacryptozoites are liberated. Now again the liver cell is damaged. Now these metacryptozoites, they are of two types. Number one, it is micro metacryptomerozoites. So micro refers to the small size, and the second one is the mega metacryptomerozoites. So these are the larger cryptozoites. So out of these two, the macro metacryptomerozoites, the larger ones, they enter fresh liver cells. So now just you can see the number of these cryptozoites. It is huge, and they are again affecting fresh liver cells. So the human will be having a very large amount of, like you can say, damage to the liver. So this part of the cycle in the liver is called as exoerythrocytic cycle. So now students, we are concerned with the micro type of metacryptomerozoites, which are entering into the second phase of the asexual cycle in man. Now they will enter the RBCs for the next phase, which is called as the erythrocytic phase. That means the phase in the red blood cells. Now coming back to this diagram, now here you can see the entry of micro metacryptomerozoites. So the smaller ones, now they are entering into the RBCs to enter the second phase of the life cycle. So now they are entering into the RBCs. Now this particular cycle, it shows the erythrocytic schizogony in humans. Now here, this is a micrometacryptomerozoite which is entering an RBC. Now this microcryptozoite, it is rounded off and now it becomes a trophozoite. Now all these stages, they are present inside the RBC. Now you know that RBC don't have nucleus. Now this nucleus is of the Plasmodium or the trophozoite stage of the Plasmodium. This is not of the RBC. Now after trophozoite, this particular stage, it is very important, and this is called as signet ring stage. This is a very important stage in the RBC. So here a vacuole is developed inside the trophozoite, and due to this vacuole formation in the center, now here you can see the vacuole, the nucleus is pushed towards the periphery and that becomes a ring-like structure. So that's why it is called as signet ring stage. Now if you take blood out of a particular person which has got this plasmodium, so in the slide of the blood you can see all these stages. So if you see in the microscope in the blood of the human a signet ring stage, or you can see a trophozoite stage or an amoeboid stage, so you can confirm that this person is infected with malaria. Now after this stage, a phase of the plasmodium, it acquires amoeba-like shape. So that's why it is called as amoeboid stage. So this is the third stage. Now after this, it bulges out and it becomes round and big. So that's why it is called as a schizont. And here the nucleus of the amoeboid stage, it divides into many nuclei and they go to periphery and they gather some cytoplasm and they become merozoites. Thus, from a single schizont, many merozoites are formed. Now, these merozoites, they have got two fates. They can go two ways. Number one, they can attack fresh RBCs and they can repeat the whole of the cycle. And secondly, on the right side, they can form gametocytes. So they can differentiate to form gametocytes. So when merozoites, they are differentiated into gametocytes, two types of gametocytes are formed. So number one is macrogametocyte, which is a kind of a female gametocyte, and the microgametocyte, it resembles the male gametocyte. Now, my question to you is that where are these two types of gametocytes found in the body of the human? Now, are they in the liver? No, they are not in the liver. So, are they in the RBCs? Yes. So, they are in the blood of the human. These are in the blood, these are in the RBCs of the human, in which we are studying the life cycle of the plasmodium. So, you can recall the cycle. Number one, sporozoites entered liver cells. Then the microtype of merozoites, the micro metacryptomerozoites, they entered the RBCs. Now we have discussed the stages in the RBC. Now at last, what we have, these are the gametocytes. Now these are present in the blood of the particular human. Now this is the end of the asexual life cycle in man. Now students, we are starting with the second phase of the life cycle of Plasmodium, and this is the sexual life cycle of Plasmodium in mosquito. Now this part of life cycle can be divided into two further phases. So first phase is gametogony. So this is the formation of gametes. Second phase is sporogony. So this is the multiplication of the organism. This phase also starts with infection. So here a fresh Anopheles mosquito, which is not having any kind of malarial parasite, it comes to that particular human and it bites. And what happens that it takes the blood out of this human, and along with the blood it takes the gametocytes also. So now the gametocytes, the micro and mega type of gametocytes, are now present in this mosquito, and the first phase of sexual cycle starts, which is the gametogony. Now in this phase, the gametocytes, they are differentiated into two types. First is the microgametocyte and second is the macrogametocyte. So they differentiate into the gametes. Now this diagram shows the sexual cycle in mosquito. Now here we start with the micro and the macrogametocytes. Now these stages, they are present inside the mosquito. Now these gametocytes, they are differentiated into gametes by two processes. Now first of all, the macrogamete, it only transforms itself and that forms a macrogamete. So that is a female gamete, that is very comparable to an egg. Now if we take a microgamete, it undergoes a particular phenomenon. It is called as X-flagellation. So in this particular phenomenon, what happens? The nucleus of the microgamete, it divides into many and it forms a star-shaped structure. That's why it is called as X-flagellation. So there are many flagellae-like structures formed. Now each flagellum has got a nucleus, and this particular structure, it forms one sperm or microgamete. So in this process, many sperms are formed from a single microgamete. Now here 8 sperms are formed from a single microgamete. Now this is the fertilization. The egg is fertilized by a sperm and it forms a zygote. Now this particular zygote, it elongates. So after elongation, that becomes a particular stage which is called as ookinete. Now this is nothing but this is elongated zygote. Now this ookinete, it travels and now it enters into the stomach wall. So it enters into the cells of the stomach. Now here it becomes non-motile. Now it is not moving, and now it is forming another phase which is called as oocyst. Now here a cyst wall is formed around it, and now it can remain in the stomach wall for days. Now from here the second phase of the sexual cycle starts, which was the sporogony. Now in this part the multiplication starts. Now the nucleus of the oocyst, it divides into many. So here you can see various nuclear divisions forming a number of nuclei. After these divisions, various cytoplasmic masses are formed, and they ultimately form a number of sporozoites in a single oocyst. And these sporozoites are then released, which travel up to the salivary glands of the mosquito. Here you can see the sporozoites, they are going to the salivary glands. So when they come to the salivary glands of the mosquito, now this mosquito is good enough to cause you again the malaria. So it can give you the sporozoites with a bite. Now this mosquito is infectious, and again the life cycle starts. So now I hope that you are clear about the asexual and sexual life cycle. So that was all about Plasmodium vivax.